Hi, friends. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to my podcast, One in a Billion. This is a podcast for human transformation. And I've been able to bring some amazing people to the show. And today I'm grateful to have Sharmi Roy with us. She is the founder of Art2Lead Coachezzy, coaching training academy based in Kolkata. She is a professional certified coach from International Coaching Federation, and she coaches CEOs and executives. She is an ICF education community leader, ICF educator, mentor, speaker. She has 3 decades of leadership experience in IT, healthcare, and consulting. Major part of her employment she spent at Cognizant. Her vision is to leave this world with coaches with loads of humanness to serve this world and make it a better place. She has mentored many successful coaches who are making a positive difference to the world. Coach Easy has done more than 20,000 plus hours of coaching education. I am grateful to the universe that I am able to have this conversation with Sharmi, and she is my mentor coach and human being par excellence. She is also a dancer. Sharmi Roy, welcome to my podcast, One in a Billion.
Thank you, Satish. Thank you so much. Uh,
All right. Thank you. Let us start with this quote from Robin Sharma. He says, own your morning and elevate your life. When I first connected with you, Sharmi, like 3-4 months back, when I wanted to do coaching, I was looking at your Calendly and it was open from morning 4:35 a.m. And I was wondering what time Sharmi wakes up. And uh, as soon as I saw that, I was very interested in working with you because I am someone who is a member of 5 a.m. Club Book of Robin Sharma, and I like to wake up early. And people who wake up early are really successful. So, what does your morning routine look like? What time you go to bed and what time you wake up?
um, I do uh, close early. That is, I sleep early. And if there are any late night or evening meetings, I declare that I may be sleepy and my mind will not be active. But if you want my active brain, it is the morning time. That's the time
Mm,
when I really have an active brain. However, this was not by birth or anything like that. It was by design. When
mm,
I realized the power of waking up in the morning and then doing things early, um, I actually worked towards it. And one of the ways to do it was when I opened my calendar, when I
mm,
started getting my clients early in the morning from
mm.
across the other side of the globe for whom
Right.
it's evening. And that's the time I realized, and I'm on top of my energy level in the mornings. So,
Mm,
yeah, I mean, good you shared Robin Sharma's quote. I read 5 a.m. Club too. And in the process, when I was working towards it, I read his book as well, The Golden
mm.
Hour he mentions. And
Right.
but I also believe in the 3:45 a.m. Morning, our body clock wakes us
Mm,
up which ways. So I do give um, I wake up for that. And then I love to watch the sunrise every single day,
mm.
especially listening to the birds chirping around and waking up the world every single day. That makes me very grateful to the world. So that's why I choose to work in the morning and get up in the morning, Satish.
Wow, amazing, Sharmi. And for some reasons, Sharmi, I get very creative from the time morning 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. I don't normally wake up but at that time, but I wake up like 5 o'clock. But when I do wake up like 3 o'clock, I get some amazing creativity during that time. I don't know what is happening. Lots of things to come to my mind, and I'm able to create some good content in that period of time. And in this fast-paced algorithmic world, people really don't pay attention to small things like watching sunrise, watching sunset, because these are all free. We don't have to pay anything. But whereas people pay a lot of money to go have experiences, but we just neglect the small, simple aspects of life. How important is uh, to pay attention to these aspects?
I mean, this is really extremely important, and in the words of Rabindranath Tagore, he actually mentioned this that he has. I mean, there's a poem. I'm just trying to translate it or summarize it. Uh,
Mm,
it's basically, I've traveled the world, I've traveled across, but I've not seen the drop of dew falling on the leaves in the morning.
mm,
So, and it is so beautiful. So, this is something which this poem stays in to my mind a lot when I read this as a child. And I think at home also, somehow my grandfather used to say that, mornings are very powerful. Somewhere there in my subconscious mind, it was always there planted that, getting up early, looking into the things of nature is something which my father used to say. If we are traveling in train, he would say, look at the green, it's very good for your leaves.
mm,
My sister who done her um, studies in basically botanics, she helped me in looking into the leaves. It has got so many different shapes.
right.
uh, Again, which continued that I my mother-in-law is an artist who keeps, we in the morning we discuss the small flowers, how it is blossoming. Or my mother, I mean, I actually have very good conversation. We have small garden with flowers just in the veranda. I mean, not even a garden, just a veranda.
Mm,
But the uniqueness of each leaves or flowers relaxes so much. So, this is a story which, if you watch we have some hibiscus plants, and in the morning, if I see a bud there, I keep on watching it, that, I will observe it, it blooms, and it does. I cannot track it. But if the moment I come back and I see it's here, the moment I go somewhere about 1 or 2 hours later, it is there. So,
mm,
and then by the end of the day, it is like shuts down and drops dead. This reminds me of our life. It's just like that, it's just like it's a time zone of that hibiscus flower that it survives for a day. It's
mm,
for us maybe for some more time. But this is it. Like, we are blossoming, we are there, we are in full blossom. Then again, we close down gradually, like as we get old, and then we drop dead.
mm,
So it's just this, and I find the l- beauty of life in everything very interesting and very encouraging. And there are so many stories in each plant, each flowers. In You actually can spend time in the morning with the plants, the
mm,
birds chirping.
right.
Though of course I also open it up for my work. So if there is client, I do my work. Then I again go back and I watch and then come back. So, but morning
Uh,
is primarily to stay with the nature.
uh, Thanks for sharing this perspective, Shami. I really loved what you shared there. Very impactful. Uh, Sharmi, normally we start our podcast with how it was like growing up uh, in your in your childhood. So how it was for you when you grew up. In, I guess you grew up in Kolkata, right?
I grew up in Kolkata, yeah. A complete 100% city bred person. And I was, my school was in Guinness Book of World Record for the highest number of children. So it
Oh
was like 1,000 children in a class. So,
my God. Mhm.
yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah,
I've seen like 200, 300 children in a class, but 1,000 children is something out of the world. Okay.
yeah. At that time, it was 1,000 children in a class, 1,000 plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there were many sections like MJ, K,
Mm.
NOP, kind of NOP, but I remember M1, M2. kind of sections. Each section had got about 60 to 80 students also,
Mm.
50, 60, 80. There were one or two sections which would have that. So it was a lot of, in school, it was survival of the fittest kind of a thing. And there
Mm.
were mostly, it was a co-education school, wherein mostly there were boys, and we were a few girls in each sections. So for me, I see anyone, I think the gender recognition was very fluid at that time. I was not aware of boys or girls or any other different. We were real friend. Everyone was a friend. And in our school, we had a rule that, I mean, people cannot sit like girls together, boys together.
Mm.
Since we were less girls, so girls need to sit in the middle, or in every
Mm.
bench there has to be one girl, so that as much as they could distribute, and there would be rotation, like the last benchers need to come into the first, like that
Mm.
rotation thing
Mhm.
was also there. So we had to make many what gave what the school gave me was understanding that I mean, boys can be such good friends
Right.
as girls. So there's no
Mm.
difference in that. I also learned about it was a very tough in the sense, the education was very tough. It was only education and classes and teachings.
Mm.
So um, there were in class 6 to 7, and there are 8 to 9, there would be at least two sections which will be wiped out. So when I say
Mm.
wiped out, in the sense they would just fail,
Mhm.
because in the when they go for madhyamik, they will only have certain seats. So
Right.
they would say that if you want to continue in the same school, you need to lose one class, else you can go to the other school, because there was tough competition just to pass. That
Mm.
was so. I think it made us tough. It made us more serious towards our education. That
Mm.
was my school, I think, though I hated it while I was in the school, because it was like too much, you cannot do anything else. But I think it made us quite tough in different scenarios. At home, we were two sisters and one brother, and I've seen. I was raised in very fortunate to be raised in a very uh,
Mm.
equal environment. We were treated very equally. So even if there is a one chocolate which will come home, it will be
Mm.
distributed into 5 parts, which includes my father and my mother. And
Okay.
my father would complain, "No, I don't want. Please give it to the children." And
Mm.
this was just to share, just to inculcate the behavior of sharing. My mother would insist that it
Mm.
be divided into 5. And other family members will definitely, like usual, they will say, "Oh, you should give more egg to the boy," and all. And
Mm.
my mother would say, "Why? I had the same pain to deliver my girl for my boy."
Right. Mm.
So I think from my parents' side, it was so much of equality we were raised into. So, like one day I will help my mother in the kitchen. So the next day my brother will help in the kitchen. So we were really treated at the same level, and we were also respected with what we want to do. So, for example, my brother was good in math, so he took up more in the science and all. I was not. I was like more into arts and humanities, so I took up that. So there was no pressure on what subjects you will take, which is so. I
Mm.
think I'm very fortunate to be raised in a very equitable,
Mm. Right.
environment, and but raised in a very humble manner. My father was a bank manager, so uh,
Mm.
my mother was a housewife, and we had huge number of guests. So we had a large family of my mother's side, uh, her brothers and sisters, my father's side. So there were guests almost like, even in a two-bedroom flat, we used to have up to 20 people
Mm.
sleeping on bed as well. We are
Right.
giving our secondary and high secondary exams while there are about 15-20 people at home.
Mm.
So it was like, you don't get a separate space for studies and all. You study, that's your job.
Right.
The way you do it, and people will come, and it's okay. You need to grow up along with the. So I think along with the different things. So I think staying in adversities, staying with people, connecting with people,
Mm.
understanding importance of relationships. So since we were in the city, and my mother was my our relatives were more from other states or anything. That's why people used to come there in our stay in our house. And if somebody is coming for interview, somebody's doing
Mm.
college, so people were staying, and it was like a very, very different environment. I saw how my mother would cook for everyone, whoever was there, work
Mm.
very hard. So I've seen housewife, and I didn't want it to be a housewife.
All right. Mm. Very, very
So,
interesting. Yeah. And it is very important to have that equitable environment and the sense of freedom that one needs. And also, back then, we feel like we had this support system of aunts, uncles, neighbors, and we were like living together, though it's a lot of people, but it was fun.
yeah, yeah. You learn the value of relationship. You
Right, right.
learn how do I connect with different kinds of people, and walk around. Yeah,
Mm. And that I believe made you a people person, and it is helping you in your career journey.
absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right, all right. Mm. Sharmi, you worked in corporate sector for a very long time, and more than close to 3 decades, I would say. And you started as an entrepreneur like 3 4 years back, and you have this coaching training academy that you run. How it was for you to transition from employment to entrepreneurship?
So one of my value was autonomy. You know,
Mm.
I really wanted to that freedom which was inculcated from the childhood. I really liked that, and I as you know, I was a dancer, so I actually started working also very early. While in college, while I was studying, I was actually, I started doing different kind of work. Though I was not good in maths, but I would just go and become an accountant, be an
Mm.
administrator for school, of a dance school, so that I can spend time in there. So I think I started working very early, and
Mm.
uh, I had no the fear of making mistakes or anything was not there, because I knew that if I'm making a mistake, then I learn. That was something which was inculcated. So I would just go and do the mistake, and I will say sorry if there is a mistake, but it does not mean that I will not do it. So I think that autonomy, even though I spent about close to 30 years in the corporates, I got the opportunity to work on my own uh,
Mm.
terms in most places, which is like being it's the intrapreneur mindset.
Mm.
So
Right.
even when I was within the organization, I was like setting up what to do next after every 18 months or so, when I would know all the process or anything which I have learned, I would look around for something new to learn. So, and
Mm.
this is what this drive is what kept me moving from role to role, and reflection as well.
Mm.
I reflecting on what I am doing, what I can do has taken me to different places. So I think the key of why so working independently is something which was always there in my mind. When I had my child, I thought, and I actually thought, maybe this is a time when I can go become an entrepreneur once. I
Mm.
actually joined a program of I am Calcutta for a one
Mm.
year management program. For 40 days, we had to stay in the campus,
Mm.
and in between, we had to do projects. And our Professor Ranjan Das, who started that executive management program, his vision was that whoever, he's building entrepreneurs, and he said that if you if you go back and again join some work, then I would know that you have really not practiced what
Mm,
I've worked towards. Um, but while I was doing that program, I got a call again from Cognizant.
mm,
I went for that interview. In that interview itself, I said that, during that time, I started for about 7 or 8 months. I was on my own.
mm,
What I realized is I was good at work, getting work, because before that I've already worked for 10, 12 years. But I was very shy in asking for my fees or
mm,
asking for my, because salary, I was so used to the salary. You work, uh,
mm.
you don't have to ask for money. But when I'm on
Right.
my own, I'm an entrepreneur, I have to actually ask for money, which I was very shy, because I was, so in the first 5 years of my formal working environment, I worked in a hospital setup, basically a diagnostic center and a healthcare sector. So
Mm,
I worked with many doctors there. Many of those doctors were setting up new hospitals,
mm,
small hospitals, small areas, and none of them had any HR person. So I joined there as an HR consultant. So they would, oh, you're doing something independent, let me do it and all. So we got that.
mm,
I
mm,
got that, but it was very difficult for me to ask for the money. So I realized
mm,
it's not the right time. So in the interview also, I told him that, look, I mean, I'm here. My the inter very senior Sid Mukherjee, who's there no more. He was center head. He interviewed and
mm,
a great influence in my life as well. He asked me, so looks like you've been working on your own. Would you be okay to work under someone here? Looks like
mm,
that's the driver. I said, no, 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 I'm not going to stay for a very long time. Uh, I will stay here for some time and then I'll go back and start on my own. He said, how long? I said,
mm,
maximum 5 years. He said, okay,
mm,
5 years is a very long time in IT. We can.
mm. Right.
So, and that 5 years turned to be 15 years.
15 years, right.
Yeah, because of the opportunity I received of working on my own, the autonomy which was given, it was really inculcated, things which I would want to do, the support and all that. So I
Mm,
think this was already there, even I was working for some time, when I was working in small organizations, people thought I owned that company. In between,
mm,
like, one corporate, Lushacom, to another one, I was working in one or two small organizations. My ownership, looking at my ownership, people thought I owned the company. Just because Cognizant was too big, people would not
mm.
think that was my
Right.
me, but I think the ownership was very high on me. So I think the thought of going on my own was there for a very, very long time.
Mm,
And I started working, I think but I was looking for what is it that I can really bring in, the key value, which only I can bring in.
mm,
So this came in through when I came across coaching.
mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Sharmi,
And go
yeah,
ahead.
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, no, no. I mean, I think I will wait for your next question.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. And why did you leave after 15 years? And I know it's not a good question to ask why as a coach, but let me ask you here.
Why did I leave after 15 years? So
Yes.
one is that it was always there, like, I have to start, I have to start. And
Mm,
this push was needed. And I think at least 2 years, I communicated this to my boss, my supervisors. They were all aware that, I really want to go and start on my own. I want to do coaching outside. So each time I would go and tell them, they would say, you can do coach. What is it that you are looking for? I said, I want to coach different people. Okay, then why don't you go and coach? We are giving you one more BU or one more different geography to do, or that's the reason, one of the reason where I went to Europe and I stayed there because I was looking for experience, that's what it is. So I
mm,
was given this opportunity to go and spend 3 years in Europe and set up the Europe leadership team there, where I realized that I would want to become a coach, and this is where I want to go. in 2019 also, or 2018, 19, when I again raised it, I was told that why don't you, you can coach on weekends, just don't take money because it's a conflict of interest.
Mm,
But or don't coach anyone in the IT it should not, I need to take care of the conflict of interest stuff. But then I realized that the seriousness of my clients, who, when I'm not taking any coaching fees, is not as much as I would want to be. And
mm,
because I want to be I want to go outside, so I was an internal coach, I was getting my clients and all. I wanted to coach different type of people. uh,
mm,
and so I started a foundation where, through which I was coaching performers, artists, and all. But still, I felt that I need to do more. I need to really reach out to there are many others who I want to connect, not only
mm,
the IT professionals, because I kind of, I've really worked with them a lot.
mm,
So globally. So that was the main reason, I really wanted variety. And
mm,
after working for 15 years in Cognizant, another 5 years in another IT, I worked in Ushacom. So primarily it was IT. So I really wanted to reach out and go to non-IT folks as well,
right.
which
Mm,
I call, the other side of the world. So
right.
that was the driver. And in fact, there were about 7 to 9 months when I went part-time also. My
Mm,
organization, I mean, my sponsors at the work, they said, why don't you try this out? I tried everything.
mm,
Uh, but then my heart was outside. So I mean, Cognizant is a beautiful place. It was very, very difficult to leave the comfort of the people around and all. But there was this inner drive of meeting many, many different people. That was my driver.
wow. Thanks for sharing that, Sharmi. When you say 15 years, I can deeply relate to my personal experience because I was with the bank for exactly 15 years. And of course, it's one of the best banks in the country to work for. They have amazing culture, but there was something in me that said that I need to do something else with my life. And when I came out, to be honest, I was not sure what I would do with my life. I thought I would go and become Tony Robbins of India, going and speaking in stages. And that's when I got introduced to coaching, and I didn't know the difference between training, mentoring, and coaching then. And I'm very glad that I've started out this journey with you. How was it like for you when you started out? How did you become a coach, or how did you choose to become a coach?
So, I think I kept on exploring myself. In fact, before coaching also, I chose HR, I chose leadership development. It's an interesting journey where in my career path, if that's okay, I wanted to be a dancer.
Mm,
And I was dancing. And but when I came out of my college and when I saw my other friends were getting into jobs and it was very different, corporates and all, I realized that being a dancer will not get me what I really wanted. So I just walked into this hospital and I started in a uh, kind of a receptionist job, wherein I
mm,
saw a computer for the first time and I started working on that. So within a year's time, I I was the fastest person in the reception
mm,
and all that, because I kept on competing with myself doing it, and I learned what was needed. And I met a person who was recruited, and she was, I mean, I almost thought that she's just going around and talking to people and not working. And I said, "Who is she? What has she done?" And then I
mm,
realized, then someone told, "Oh, she's a HR." I said, "Okay, I want to get into HR." So I joined a PG course in HR. That was my shift from customer experience to, and
mm,
I picked up new things and I started training there because I started, the corporate functioning system, and I created the system and started training. So I used to like uh, guiding people in that. So I had an intention in maybe, this is something which I'll do. But when I did my post graduation in HR, then I wanted to move to HR. very fortunately, and then IT was just coming up. So, and this there was a need to move from the healthcare industry to IT because I was young, right? So I applied for an IT job, which was an Ushacom, and fortunately, I my first assignment was in training in under guidance of General Agarwal. So who was who? So my discipline of training, my L&D exposure was the foundation was laid by General Agarwal under General
Mm,
Agarwal. It was like more than any training institute.
mm,
There, my 4 years of foundation training was great, and which led me to leadership development also. We started working with the, the IIM Calcutta professors. We designed management development programs for the
mm,
for our leaders. So I started getting into the leadership development area. Uh,
mm,
Moved on designing, having design conversations, working on the need versus that. And then shifting into, when I moved to Cognizant and others, it was the leadership development was the primary area where I worked. Uh, my role uh, when I was leading the Academy School of Management Leadership in Cognizant,
mm,
this offer, there were some programs which was being rejected from Europe, which
mm,
I was creating, and my boss there said that, you need to come here and understand the need. It's very
mm,
different than what you're thinking, and you're designing the program which will work in US or in India.
mm,
So I took the opportunity to go for Europe leadership development there. When I
mm,
landed there in the first week, I met a coach.
mm,
And I could see that through training, what we were trying to achieve, the behavior change which we were trying to achieve,
mm.
how through coaching he's being able to do in 30 minutes,
Wow. Mm,
just through asking questions. And I was like intrigued by the process. And that
mm,
led me to my search for more about coaching. It was in 2011. In the next
mm,
1 year, I actually, there was one calendar time which said, learn one thing about coaching. And I would
mm,
actually reach out, call out to people in coaches. There were many coaches there in
mm,
Europe, based in England, all over. So since it was my overall Europe was under me, I would walk, I will meet, networking, dinner, breakfast, anything was there, I would just go and attend. And I maybe I've met 100 coaches in that year,
mm,
and I also made people who have experienced coaching. And I realized that two things. One is I need to bring coaching into my company, in my organization, in a very structured manner, what I
mm,
should do and what I should not do. And the other thing was I could see myself as a coach, because this is something which is I knew this was my path. So that was my mm, I mean, it's not that I've not heard about coaching before that,
mm,
but really experiencing, watching something, the change happening. And I mean, when I say I met these 100 coaches, the first interaction was like, okay, coach me. What is it? What are you doing? What are the challenges? So much I learned from them.
mm. I'm in a similar journey. I've set myself a target of interviewing 100 coaches in this year. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah,
All
all the
right.
best.
Yeah. So how it was for you, or rather, how coaching changed you as a person? What was the personal transformation like for you?
I mean, I think the transformation is still on, and
Mm,
it's that is huge. Uh, So I was actually, one of the story I want to share is when which is very common also, like when you don't get that promotion in corporate, when you
mm,
don't get that what you really wanted, you feel sad and you feel bad. So in that year when I went, I was like, I almost thought I am a star. I'm like, I'm the I did very well, performed very well when I was in India. Met all the targets and everything. There we had our own targets. So I was hitting the Kolkata center at that time, and some multiple things. When I went there, the objectives, the goal I set, I felt like, I did everything. I'm the one who
mm,
deserved. But
mm,
when the promotion time came, I was not the one. I was so sad that
mm,
I I almost like I mean I in my mind I was thinking I will just leave. And I met, one of the coach actually. By the time I already started working with the coaches, basically assigning coaches to our leaders. So I mean, as a vendor partner. So this person called and he said that, I'm thinking of a new design program and I just want to discuss with you if you're going to London today. So we used to stay a little bit away, right?
Mm,
So by car, would you want to uh, join me in the drive? It will take an hour and we can finish our conversation. I said, okay. And as I was going, he kept on talking, and I was for the first time he saw I was very unmindful about what the design is saying.
mm,
When we were getting down, he said, "Sharmi, you look unmindful. Are you okay? If you feel,
mm,
we can talk. We have 10 minutes to walk to our office, and we can
mm,
talk." And he asked me one or two questions,
mm,
and he reminded me of my vision.
mm,
Basically hold the mirror for me that, on one hand, you are thinking of leaving. What is it? If I leave, what happens? If I don't leave, what happens?
mm,
And within that 10 minutes, he just asked me that question. I thought about it and I said, hold on. I think from that day onwards, I stopped looking for promotions or any other
mm,
thing. I knew I need to give myself a promotion
mm.
every year. And
Right.
that I would become a gardener. That was a promotion for myself. I would
Mm,
become a driver. There are goals which I would set in that year,
right.
and I would go for it and I will say, this is my designation. It's not about that designation which I'm getting. What is it that I will get in the promotion? I will invest in myself and grow as a person. So I
Mm,
think this is what a real experience of coaching I started receiving, and I knew this is what I will I'll become a coach. It really strengthened my uh, vision.
mm,
I also met somebody who was about 80-year-old. He was a CEO of a very, very large corporation. So he was actually doing almost pro bono coaching. And
mm,
I asked him like, not pro bono, he was getting paid because he was corporate one, but he said, Sharmi, don't worry, don't negotiate with me on the thing. It's about, I really want to be useful. And I could see how he transformed somebody. He would just talk and he would do that. Few leaders he worked with. And I thought this is something. So even if you grow old, as long as you are active and you are contributing, this is a profession which you can continue doing from wherever you are. So he was like, I was in London, England, he was in US. I was offering him clients across the globe, in China, in India. And I really realized that this is something which I need to really, really become
mm.
and take up. So I became a coach. I mean, earlier also, but it was all the stepping stones. It was all
Right.
getting more clarity on my vision of how I see myself. So I'm not planning to retire as well.
That's great. Sharmi, you coach CEOs and executives. What is that one common challenge that people face in terms of reaching their objectives, and how, as a coach, you address, uh, you help them address to reach that goal?
So it's a fact that I coach senior leaders at the head of organization CEOs. That's what I've been doing in my first, because it's all about leadership development, minimum 15
Mm,
years experience and above are the people who
mm,
I work with, even in leadership development.
mm.
Um, but and CEOs, what the problem is CEOs have, a
Right.
student can also have.
Mm,
So I basically started when I became independent, I wanted to work at all levels as well. So while I continued working with CEOs, I also work with frontline managers, individual contributors, and leaders. So I ensure that I have a good mix here,
mm.
because I want to connect with the humanness. There's some depth in it. To respond to your question, this is a common thing if you see it from the human angle.
Right. Mm,
People will have. So I'm working with a very senior leader, a social leaders as well. the whole point is about how do I take the vision to
Mm.
down to the lowest rung of the
Right.
organization and make them serve my the client, focus on the client,
Mm.
the investors,
Right.
and the customers. I mean, I'm telling client and it's all the investors and all. How do I get everyone, the entire team aligned to the vision so that we can actually go and meet the targets, take the organization to higher and higher levels. When I'm working with social leaders, how do I make those change, the transformation in people's mind so that they adapt the changes? It's all about
Mm.
human. It's all about so much about that, about themselves and about others.
Mm. Right,
So
right, right.
it's the same.
Sharmi, talking about organizations and companies and employers, we have, at least in India, we have set up something like a fear-based structures, and there is constant judgment, constant criticism, unhealthy competition, and comparison between employees. And I call this as great Indian squeezing mindset, meaning we were raised like if you're using a toothpaste and you will squeeze the every ounce of it, and sometimes you even use a scissor to cut it open and to take the last one. And if you using a shampoo bottle, you will use it to the last last piece of it. Last week my son was asking, in the bathroom there is a shampoo bottle. He told that, Daddy, it's already over. Throw out the bottle. I told him that I can use it for 10 more days. So we have the similar mindset at workplaces also. We try to squeeze the best out of our employees. And if you do that, it gives that sense of achievement. And there is this constant fear that the employees are living with. Have you seen any organization where people don't have this aspect of fear in their mind when they're working? Because you feel all the time that other than the work, and if you feel constantly criticized, constantly harassed, and you feel like you have to protect yourself all the time, you're doing the task of protecting yourself, and you cannot be at your best at the workplace. So, as a coach, how do we address the top management and the people in the middle management and people at the lower level employees to remove this aspect of fear from their mind?
So, I mean, and you mentioned about the Indian context as well, and
Correct. Yeah.
I think the fear is inculcated
Mm,
in the children. Like, if you don't clear this, if you don't get a 90%, you will not get that. You don't. It's almost like a like the carrot and the stick approach. So it's the
mm,
fear which is inculcated, and um, and if the fear is a motivator.
mm.
Uh, so basically, if you see the meter ways, one is fear and one there is no fear. If you
Right.
see as a meter, as a, we call it fearometer. Let's
Mm,
name it fearometer. So
mm,
fear is there and then there's no fear. What
mm,
will happen is if there's fear, you may not do it. If it's over too much of a fear, you may make mistake, you may get stuck,
mm,
it will be
mm,
stressful, you will not be able to do anything. If there is no fear, a person may not even do it. They may like, okay, fine, like no one will tell anything. It's okay, I
mm.
can, I can stay like that as well.
Right.
So if we use it in the right process, fear also to to kind of push yourself, like fear is good. Oh, fear of failure, I will do better. If I
Mm,
fail, I will do better. But if the fear of failure is not allowing me to do better, that means it is a stagnating point. So
mm.
and for different people, it will work differently. For some,
Right.
it's the fear which will drive them. For some, it is a fear which will not drive them. So,
Mm.
as a manager, as a leader, if people understand what works for each person and put
Right.
it in that manner, and understand what works, then the whole thing changes. I think this is what we need to make people understand, that people are different. Everyone, you
Mm,
can the same model for everyone. And
right.
that's where the coaching thing comes in place. If leaders have a coaching mindset or a coaching conversation, they will know that how the other person, what is it that the other person needs to help them reach the goal. If it is fear, what is it? You're enabling them. It's not that you only give fear to do that.
Mm,
And fear is also inculcated. It is about them, how it is affecting that person. So for
mm,
me, from a very young, this thing, the fear was, it was like, what do you have to fear of? If it's does not happen, then what will happen? So, for example, as I mentioned, right? I mean, there was a fear of fail. You may fail. But I was losing my friends. There are parents who had to leave because they failed in the sense, failed in the class, not able to get
right.
promoted. I had that fear always, and so my mother would just say that, I mean, just work towards whatever so that you clear it. Clear
Mm,
I'm not asking you for more marks, or just ensure that you clear it, if that makes you feel okay. But she will
mm,
also come behind me just to check whether I have done it, because my brother and my sister, they were very, very good students. She had no trouble with them at all. And I was like, one time I'm scoring 100. If I'm in a good mood, if I'm not in a good mood, I may not clear. So I was like that. I was a very like, if I'm okay with it, I will do it. If I'm not, so they were not sure what I'll do,
mm,
what will be the reaction. So the failure thing was, um, and she would say, you will get, don't worry about the result. You put in whatever. If you have put your effort, you will get it. If you have not put your effort, you will not get it. I mean, being fearful will not help you. And I remember during our exam strength and all. So I think fear has a role to play in motivating people, in getting things
mm,
done, but using it in the right proportion is what is very, very important.
right, right. Mm,
And so uh, even at work, it should be like that. There is a fear of, then there's a target, then there's a growth. So
mm,
you need to use the tool of fear in the right manner. Use it on yourself, use it on others, and but as a parent, since you mentioned about your child, so as a parent, I think it's very important to say that, give the options. Like, if this happens, this is what happens. If this happens, this is what happens. But your life is, and life is a long journey, so it's okay.
mm, right.
And only encourage them on the efforts, uh, and not use any fear or anything. The effort, you put the effort and you see the result, which is there also in Gita, right? Karm,
Mm,
karm karte jao.
mm. Sharmi, you've worked in leadership development for a long time. Uh, normally in organizations, people at entry level jobs, if they are good at a certain task and they do the task very well, and they get promoted, and suddenly where they have to manage some people, and these people are not given training. They don't know what is empathy. They don't know how it is to work with people. And just because you're doing a task very well and you get promoted, and suddenly it's people management is a different concept altogether. So how do we address this aspect of leadership training and people management training in organizations?
So it's very important. I think it's not even there,
Mm,
Satish. In our school, we are actually taught about history of people, what Aurangzeb did, or what Shah Jahan did, or the science of so many other things. But we are actually not taught to understand ourselves,
mm,
our emotions, dealing with people, the process of it. There's so much science, behavioral science has really improved a lot in right now.
mm,
And of course, our ancient wisdom tradition, also, managing ourselves, this has been there for a very, very long time. If you see how our earlier schools, the pathshalas were taught,
Right.
they would actually stay with the gurus. There were only one teacher. They will actually work on the self first.
Mm.
And then if you know yourself well, then you will know others as well in that context.
Mm.
So this is something which should be taught in the schools as well,
Mm.
not the technical knowledge. I mean, technical
Right.
knowledge they will learn any which ways in the school, colleges. They will have much less conflicts.
Mm.
It will help them to know themselves. So if it is there inculcated from childhood, and even basically when you are leading managers, that's a first time leader. And
Mm.
first time manager is when you are managing a set of people. People man, how do you man? People think that, I know it. I know it. I don't
Mm.
need to learn it. So if you watch people who are really making a difference, they are the people who can get things done by people. It's
Mm.
not about how good you are, but you are enabling them. You're standing behind them. So this, for that, the leader has to know themselves first.
Right.
So the training which is needed for the first time manager, be it first time leader, or this kind of training should be inculcated also in the schools and the colleges.
Mm.
That's the leadership training needs to be done. Leadership is about self leadership. Leadership
Right.
about It's not only about leading. If you're not able to lead yourself, how will you lead others?
Mm. Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's not only at the first time leader, but I think I will take it more towards there as well.
All right.
Schools and colleges. Yeah.
Sharmi, thanks for sharing that, and we have spoken for almost 1 hour right now, and we can go on and on. I just to wrap it up, I just have two more questions, if you have time. So, what are some of common misconceptions about coaching, Sharmi?
So people think that like people management, like this thing that I already do it. They think that okay, I've become a first time manager, and since that time I've spent managing people. That's what I do, right? I mean, I coach people. I am a coach. That's the number one misconception. Because coaching is not about telling them what to do. Coaching is not about actually guiding them or mentoring them in that manner. um, Coaching is about understanding what is it that the person truly wants. It's asking, it's more listening.
Mm.
But which leader actually does so much of listening? They don't, right? I mean, they only share what it has to be done. So I was speaking to one of the example is one person actually before joining our program, the person is a big leader in a very very large multinational company, heading a huge transformational projects with a lot of people under them. Not only one person, most of them are like that. And they'll say, Sharmi, I've been doing coaching all through my years. What is it that you are going to teach me for 100 hours,
Mm.
134 hours for the certification? Can you not just give me the certification?
Mm.
And my normal response is, we'll see how it goes. It takes some unlearning, and then they start realizing unlearning happens. And there are people who's like, even after 100 hours, they would say, we want to continue with the journey. It is so much of, I wish I had known this, uh, 10 years back, 20 years back,
Right.
what learning, I would
Mm.
have managed my team members differently. I would have managed my relationship differently. Somebody said, if
Right.
I had known this 11 years back, I may not have gone for my divorce.
Mm. Wow.
Somebody said, I had, if I had known this before, I would not have left maybe the role which I left at that time.
Mm.
So there are a lot of misconceptions about what a coach does. And there's no professional cert there without professional cert there's no regulation, right? So
Mm.
without professional certification, training, people can just call themselves a coach. So people are experiencing these coaches who are basically none other than people who are telling you what to do from their
Mm.
experience. And which is basically that's what they're experiencing, and that's what they're thinking, like, okay, fine, so what do I need? I don't need it. So there are a lot of misconceptions which we need to work on. Satish, to
Mm.
make people aware of what coaching is and the benefit of how it is basically not doing anything. A
Right.
coach needs to not actually not do anything, only listen. And that's a
Mm.
huge thing of not doing anything.
Okay. Sharmi, let's move on to something that I call as a quick fire round right now.
Oh
Uh,
God.
so for in this round, you have to answer in one word or one sentence. And for any questions, if I'm asking a why, then you can explain. What is the best advice you have ever received?
In one word, right? In one
One
word.
word or one sentence?
Oh, one sentence. What's
Yeah.
the best advice? Uh, so many advices are flowing in. Just give me a minute. Okay. Best advice is don't react,
Hmm.
but respond. Yeah.
Great.
Sleep over your email and send it
Hmm.
next day if you're angry. Don't react when you're angry.
Great. What is the worst advice you ever received?
I may not remember. Can I pass? I mean, I don't remember. Nothing's coming.
It's okay. It's okay to pass. No problem.
No.
What is that one thing most people value and you don't?
Uh, like wealth in the usual way,
Hmm.
possibly.
Right. Hmm. Okay. Great. If you had to create one law that everyone has to follow in the universe, what is that law?
Respect human.
Wow.
Respect any
Hmm.
being. Any
Hmm. And who is your role model and why?
There are so many role models. So you know, I would love to say my mother, father, and
Hmm.
all usual. Like of course they are my role models. But as the world is expanding and expanding for me,
Hmm.
I think Dr. Ravi Kannan, Padma Shri Dr. Ravi Kannan, uh,
Hmm.
who who is a person who I have seen that how his thinking and
Hmm.
his his way of treating all human beings at an equal level,
Hmm.
uh, simplifying simplifying complex problems,
Hmm.
which focuses only towards patient care, which is his client. It's only
Hmm.
patient. So I
Wow.
think he and the kind of impact, how he gives his award of, be it Padma Shri, be it Magsaysay, be it whatever, he truly means it, that it is not his award, it is for his team.
Hmm.
It is for the people who has really worked hard who's constantly working towards cancer cure
Hmm.
and making them a healthier place. So many other things. I think he's my role model.
You wouldn't believe, Shami, I've noted down his name, Dr. Ravi Kannan,
Mm.
just for the notes here. And if there is one book or one podcast that you can recommend to our listeners, what is that one book or podcast?
Let me go for book
Yeah.
itself. I will. It's Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore. The
Hmm.
poem.
Right.
People know him, as a Nobel laureate and others, but his poems are path to spiritualism.
Mm.
And it's a long way. You need lifetimes to actually read and understand what he's written. So I guess that's something which I would recommend.
Wow. Sharmi, it has been indeed a privilege and honor for me for you to come on my show and discuss and having this conversation about your personal life experience. Thank you for being so open and thank you for being what you're doing to the world in terms of creating these coaches and making a difference to our world. I wish you all the best in your journey. Is there anything else at all, one last thing that you want to say to our listeners.
Mm. Before I end, I want to really thank you for what you're doing and the consistency which you are doing. So, congratulations on your job and
Thank you very much.
congratulations on what you're doing. The questions were very, very interesting. I really enjoyed the journey and loved exploring the whole journey with you. So, thank you so much for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing which I would want to share is we need to remember that we are human,
Mm,
and this is and what makes us different is our intelligence, our thinking.
right.
So you know, respect people's thinking, understanding, analyzing, and your own thinking and others, and spend time with yourself, your thoughts
Mm,
is what I would really want to share and and that all humans, and I've one thing which I've really seen is I've really worked across the globe with different levels of people, with different people who have survived some war
mm,
victims or any a lot many other things, um to enemy countries as well, and
mm.
but I see there is a common thread there, that is the humanness, that is the being of the being thing. And there's truly no difference at a certain level.
Mm.
Uh, Everyone experiences their relationships, their work environment, uh, their, I mean, primarily these two. I mean, relationships covers everything, and the work or your hobby or your work or your life basically. There can be everything is same for all humans at a certain level. You
Mm.
just need to touch that. And there is goodness in every human being. Let's just appreciate that goodness in others and just enjoy life. There's only one life.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that profound thought, Sharmi. And I'm grateful for your time, and for all the listeners for your patient listening. Thank you very much for your time, and hope it was worth your time. And if at all you need, you consider hiring a coach, or if you are someone who is curious about knowing more about coaching, please connect with Sharmi. I'll add her contacts, her email ID in the show notes or the description. Please reach out to her, and she is an amazing human being, and she will make a difference to your world. Thank you so much, Sharmi, again for your time, and I wish you all the best in your journey, and God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Satish. God bless you too. Bye.